Hi, my name is Storyman Bob, and I'm going to read you a real fun story about Hattie and Hudson. Hattie McFadden loved to explore. Every morning after breakfast, she'd grab her life jacket, wave goodbye to her parents, and paddle out in her canoe to see what she could see. Hattie discovered all kinds of things in the lake. She watched as a beaver tugged an alder branch slowly through the water. There's the beaver, and he's pulling his branch. You know, the beavers use the branches to build a dam that they can live in. And overhead, two bald eagles circled around. Over in the cove, a family of turtles with shiny black shells basked in the warm summer sun. Hattie was so happy she started to sing. When the sun is up and the day is new and the birds are singing in the sky, that's when you'll find me in my little canoe, paddling just a paddling by. She had no idea she was being heard. Down at the bottom of the lake, in a dark, deep cave, there lived a mysterious creature. He was enormous, but elusive. That means he hid a lot. He never ventured up to the surface. He spent his days down below, all alone and out of sight. The monster was used to hearing motors buzzing and propellers turning overhead from the boats going back over and forth across the lake. That was why he stayed hidden in his cave. But today he heard something different. A song, a bouncy and bubbly song came down through the water. So come with me, because there's room for two. We'll be together, you and I, out on the lake in my little canoe, paddling just a paddling by. It was so cheerful and charming that it drew the beast out of his lair, out of his cave, and up toward the light. There's the little canoe up there, and there's the big beast going upwards. He broke through the water, drawn by the music, and there, just off to his right, was a young girl, alone in a canoe, singing. Hattie stopped when the giant thing rose right up beside her. She stared at the monster, and the monster stared back. But Hattie wasn't afraid. There was something in his eyes, the way he looked at her, and the curious tilt of his head. It was almost as if he wanted to hear more. So Hattie continued to sing softly. When the sun goes down and the day is through, and the moon is arising in the sky, I'll take you home in my little canoe, paddling just a paddling by. And as she sang the last note, Hattie was astounded when the giant joined in, harmonizing with a low rumble. Then someone screamed. Uh-oh, they just saw the monster. People pointed, some fainted, motors roared as boats fled away, running away in a hurry from this monster. Amid all the commotion, the creature slid back beneath the water, and Hattie padded slowly and silently back to the dock. All these other people saw this big monster and were terrified, but Hattie knew he wasn't so nasty. That night, Hattie tried to sleep, but every time she closed her eyes, she pictured the big, green, friendly face looking down at her. She wondered if she'd ever see him again. She decided she had to find out. At the bottom of the lake, the girl's sweet song played over and over in the monster's head. He wondered if he'd ever see her again. He decided he had to find out. Hattie paddled the canoe quietly through the darkness. She stopped, waited, and looked down into the rippling water. Suddenly, a massive black shape emerged from the depths. Two glowing eyes grew brighter and brighter as the shape drew closer and closer. Slowly, the gigantic head emerged from the water. It glistened in the moonlight. For a moment or two, the monster and the girl just stared at each other. Then Hattie broke the silence. "Hi, I'm Hattie," she said. "I'm the girl you met this morning. I was really hoping to see you again. What's your name?" The monster just cocked his head. "You do have a name, don't you?" she said. The monster raised his eyebrows and sort of shrugged a little bit. "Didn't know." Maybe you don't," Hattie said. "Well, you kind of remind me of my uncle's dog. His name is Hudson. Maybe I could call you Hudson. Do you like that name, Hudson?" And the monster slowly smiled. "Good, I like it too," she said. "It fits you. Hello, Hudson." And just like that, they became fast friends. The little girl and the huge monster splashed and played in the silvery moonlight until Hattie realized it was time to come home. Notice She's using his back as sort of a sliding board to slide into the water. And she could jump off his head and jump into the water like a diving board. Finally, when it was time to go home, she climbed into the canoe, turned around and smiled and said, "Hey, Hudson, let's meet again tomorrow night, okay?" Hudson nodded eagerly and smiled back. The next afternoon, there was a meeting at the town hall. Everyone's yelling, suggesting ways to get rid of what they called the deadly beast. If they only knew him, Hattie thought. She tried to say something, but she never could get a word out. No one wanted to listen to a little girl. Finally, she gave up. When the meeting was over, Hattie walked home with her dad. She felt a little sick. All these people want to go out and chase Hudson. Hattie snuck out that night again to be with Hudson, but when they met, she didn't feel much like playing. She said, "The townspeople saw you yesterday. Everybody thinks you're dangerous. Tomorrow they're going to come and catch you and take you away. I don't know where to, but we can't let this happen. We need a plan." Hattie was deep in thought when Hudson nudged her canoe, bumped it a little bit with his nose, nearly knocked it over. "Hey," said Hattie. Hudson did it again. "What the heck?" said Hattie. Once again, the monster bumped the boat. Then he looked at her and smiled. "Wait a second," she said. "I think I know what you're doing. And this could work. This could definitely work. Hudson, you're a genius." At the break of dawn, Hattie paddled her canoe over to the town landing. The men were already there, gathering up, loading their boats with radars and ropes and netting to catch the monster. Hattie started to feel sick again, but she had to stay focused. They had to stick to the plan. She wanted to save her new friend. So she paddled away from the shore out to the center of the lake, and then she waited. Now it was Hudson's turn. He swam up to Hattie. Notice he's below. They can't see him yet. And he gently bumped the bottom of the canoe. It flipped over, and it tossed Hattie, as they had planned, into the water. Hattie flailed her arms. She splashed the water. Now, she's really not going to be dangerously in trouble because she's wearing a life jacket. But the men on the dock sprang into action. "Hang on," someone hollered. "We're on our way." The boats were all coming quickly, but Hattie waited and waited until they were in the perfect position. Then she signaled to Hudson. Oh my gosh, he leaped up and he caught Hattie. Some of the boats got sort of turned over. The people stared in complete, stunned silence as Hudson picked up Hattie on his nose, swam over to the landing, and gently lowered his head so she could slide off onto the dock. Now it was Hattie's turn to hold the town meeting. "This is Hudson," she said bravely. "He's a friend of mine. I know you think he's scary and mean and dangerous, but he's really very friendly. He won't hurt you, I promise. This lake is his home, and I think he deserves to stay. Once you get to know him, I'm sure you'll agree." Hattie paused. Everyone stood still. Then one young boy walked up and patted Hudson gently on the nose. Then another child, then another. Finally, a few adults cautiously stepped forward. Before long, a crowd had gathered around Hudson. It took some convincing, but eventually everyone welcomed the idea of having Hudson around. He even became something of an attraction. People traveled from far and wide to spend time with the famous friendly monster. There are kids sliding down his back like a sliding board, and they're going to jump off his nose like a diving board. There's a kid jumping in there. But when the sun went down and the visitors left, for Hattie and Hudson, everything was just as it had been since the beginning. Every night they met in the same place, played the same games, and splashed and frolicked under the big silver summer moon. Just because something looks scary doesn't mean it really is.